Stopped counting the days lost in the rhythm.
The Labor Department's jobs report showed non-farm payrolls rose by 263,000, above expectations of 200,000, and wage growth accelerated even as recession concerns increase. The U.S. unemployment rate remained unchanged, as expected, at 3.7%. Wage growth has been in an uptrend since August, said Brian Jacobson, senior investment strategist at Allspring Global Investment in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. We will have to see that trend reverse for the Fed to be comfortable with a pause. Until then, they'll continue to taper towards a pause. Investors have been looking for signs of weakness in the labor market, especially wages, as a precursor to faster cooling of inflation that will enable the Fed to slow and eventually stop its current rate hike cycle. Stocks had rallied earlier in the week after Fed Chair Jerome Powell's comments on scaling back interest rates hikes as early as December. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 34.87 points, or 0.1%, to 34,429.88. The S&P 500 lost 4.87 points, or 0.12%, to 4,071.7, and the Nasdaq Composite dropped 20.95 points, or 0.18%, to 11,461.50. Still, equities ended the session off their lowest levels of the day that saw each of the major indexes tumble at least 1%, with the Dow managing a slight gain. If anything, I am actually encouraged by how the market is clawing its way back from the level we were at today. It is another indication the market is looking for at least a seasonal December rally, said Sam Stovall, chief investment strategist at CFRA in New York. The market is beginning to look across the valley and say, okay, a year from now the Fed will likely be on hold and considering cutting rates. The rate-setting Federal Open Market Committee meets on December 13th to 14th, the final meeting in a volatile year that saw the central bank attempt to stifle the fastest rate of inflation since the 1980s with record interest rates increases. The major averages notched a second straight week of gains, with the S&P 500 climbing 1.13%, the Dow gaining 0.24% and the Nasdaq rising 2.1%. Growth and technology companies such as Apple Inc., down 0.34%, and Amazon, off 1.43%, were pressured by concerns over rising rates but paired declines as U.S. Treasury yields eased throughout the day off earlier highs. The S&P 500 Growth Index declined 0.29%, while technology shares were among the worst performing among the 11 major S&P 500 sectors with a fall of 0.55%. Ford Motor Co. declined 1.56% on lower vehicle sales in November, while DoorDash Inc. 3.38% shed after RBC downgraded the food delivery firm's stock. Advancing issues outnumbered declining ones on the NYSE by a 1.15 to 1 ratio. On Nasdaq, a 1.35 to 1 ratio favored advancers. The S&P 500 posted 20 new 52-week highs and no new lows. The Nasdaq Composite recorded 86 new highs and 92 new lows.
Astronauts will give the space station a power boost during Saturday's spacewalk. The International Space Station will receive a power boost during a spacewalk on Saturday, as NASA astronauts Josh Cassada and Frank Rubio install a solar array outside the floating laboratory. The spacewalk is on track to begin at 7:25 a.m. ET and will last for about 7 hours, with live coverage streaming on NASA's website. During the event, Cassada will serve as extravehicular crew member 1 and will wear a suit with red stripes, while Rubio will wear an unmarked white suit as extravehicular crew member 2. The duo conducted their first spacewalk together in November. Against the backdrop of spectacular views of Earth, the team assembled a mounting bracket on the starboard side of the space station's truss. This hardware allows for the installation of more rollout solar arrays, called IROSAs, to increase electrical power on the space station. The first 2 rollout solar arrays were installed outside the station in June 2021. The plan is to add a total of 6 IROSAs, which will likely boost the space station's power generation by more than 30% once all are operational. 2 more arrays were delivered to the space station on November 27 aboard the 26th SpaceX Dragon commercial resupply mission, which also carried dwarf tomato seeds and other experiments to the orbiting laboratory. The arrays were rolled up like carpet and are 750 pounds and 10 feet wide. During Saturday's spacewalk, Cassada and Rubio will install a solar array to increase capacity in one of the space station's 8 power channels, located on the station's starboard truss. Once the array is unfurled and bolted into place by the astronauts, it will be about 63 feet long and 20 feet wide. The spacewalking duo will also disconnect a cable to reactivate another power channel that recently experienced unexpected tripping on November 26. By isolating a section of the impacted array, which was one of several damaged strings, the goal is to restore 75% of the array's functionality, according to a release from NASA. Cassada and Rubio will go on another spacewalk on December 19 to install a second rollout solar array on another power channel, located on the station's port truss. The original solar arrays on the space station are still functioning, but they have been supplying power there for more than 20 years and are showing some signs of wear after long-term exposure to the space environment. The arrays were originally designed to last 15 years. Erosion can be caused by thruster plumes, which come from both the station's thrusters and the crew and cargo vehicles that come and go from the station, as well as micrometeorite debris. The new solar arrays are being placed in front of the original ones. It's a good test for the new solar arrays, because the same design will power parts of the planned Gateway lunar outpost, which will help humans return to the moon through NASA's Artemis program. The new arrays will have a similar 15-year life expectancy. However, since the degradation on the original arrays was expected to be worse, the team will monitor the new arrays to test their true longevity, because they may last longer.
Terror campaign on Ukraine embassies continues with more bloody packages. 18 Ukrainian diplomatic missions in 12 countries have received bloody packages in what Ukraine has described as a campaign of terror and intimidation. Oleh Nikolenko, a spokesperson from Ukraine's foreign ministry, said the packages were simultaneously sent from one European country, which he could not disclose while the investigation was ongoing. As of Friday, Ukraine said 17 embassies had been targeted, indicating that another was delivered on Saturday. A Ukrainian embassy employee in Madrid was injured on Wednesday by a letter bomb, which was addressed to Ukraine's ambassador to Spain. A further 4 letter bombs were sent on Wednesday to addresses in Spain, including to a Spanish arms manufacturer that has produced rockets donated to Ukraine, as well as Spain's Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez, and the U.S. Embassy in Madrid. In an interview with CNN on Friday, Ukraine's Foreign Minister, Dmytro Kuleba, described what followed the Madrid attack as more weird and even sick. He said that after Wednesday, packages started arriving at various Ukrainian diplomatic missions soaked in liquid with a distinctive smell and containing animals' eyes. In one case, it's most probably an eye of a cow and an eye of a pig in another case, said Kuleba. Asked who he thought was behind the packages, Kuleba said he feels tempted to name Russia, as it benefits from sowing fear among Ukrainian diplomats. But he added that it could also be someone who sympathizes with Russia, so he would await the findings of ongoing investigations. Russia's embassy in Madrid tweeted on Thursday that any terrorist attacks on diplomatic missions were totally condemnable. On Friday afternoon, Ukraine's foreign ministry said the packages had been delivered to Ukraine's embassies in Hungary, the Netherlands, Poland, Croatia and Italy, to general consulates in Naples and Krakow, and the consulate in Brno in the Czech Republic. It later announced that a similar package had also been delivered to the Madrid embassy and that investigators were on the scene. Nikolenko posted a picture of the Madrid embassy garden, where a Spanish police officer could be seen patrolling with a dog. In addition to the packages, the residence of Ukraine's ambassador to the Vatican was smeared with what Ukraine suspects may have been animal feces. The door to the apartment and the stairs and walls in the entryway were smeared with a dirty substance with an unpleasant smell, said Ukraine's Vatican ambassador, Andriy Yurash. It is hard to explain completely why and what is the reason for this terrible message, but it is no doubt a systematic trend, a systematic attack on Ukrainian missions around Europe, he said. A hoax bomb threat was received concerning Ukraine's embassy in Kazakhstan, and Ukraine's embassy in Washington received a letter containing an article critical of Ukraine. Ukraine has called for its embassies to step up security and has asked host countries to help.